Welcome to Street Smart Spirituality with your hosts, Barry and Cole, where each week we will be discussing diverse topics of spirituality, including the right use of will, A Course of Love, A Course in Miracles, The Way of Mastery, and much more. Join us on a global spiritual adventure with Cole in Australia and Barry in the U.S. All right, everybody, welcome to Episode 8 of Street Smart Spirituality. My name is Barry, and my co-host is Cole down in Byron Bay. This episode will be on the Urantia Book, something new to a lot of people and something old to a lot of people. So, Cole, say hello.
Hello, and help us God.
Yes, it is a monumental endeavor, to be sure. Why don't I read something just really short from the forward of the book, and maybe that'll give a brief overview for people that aren't familiar with it, and then we'll take it from there. Does that sound good?
Sounds amazing.
All right. So this is from the forward, not the introduction. In the minds of the mortals of Urantia, that being the name of your world, there exists great confusion respecting the meaning of such terms as God, divinity, and deity. Human beings are still more confused and uncertain about the relationships of the divine personalities designated by these numerous appellations. Because of this conceptual poverty associated with so much ideational confusion, I have been directed to formulate this introductory statement in explanation of the meanings which should be attached to certain word symbols as they may be hereinafter used in those pages which the Orvantan Corps of Truth Revealers have been authorized to translate into the English language of Urantia. It is exceedingly difficult to present enlarged concepts and advanced truth. In our endeavor to expand cosmic consciousness and enhance spiritual perception, when we are restricted to the use of a circumscribed language of the realm. But our mandate admonishes us to make every effort to convey our meaning by using the word symbols of the English tongue. All right, that was from the forward of the first book. I'll read something, review from a real smart dude from the back of the book. Shut up, Cole. No names.
Namely. Okay.
No names.
Okay.
A monumental, almost incomprehensible body of work that gives answers and raises even more questions about the inception and unfathomable scope of creation. It enlarges man's infantile perspective of life to God's infinite perspective. Do not be so quick to dismiss the unknown and for new ideas that make you uncomfortable. For it is within the intellectual struggle that spiritual evolution is quickened. The life of Jesus the Christ is beautifully brought forward into a clarity unknown until now. If this work resonates with you, embrace it with your heart and begin an incredible journey. If it does not, know only that the seed has been planted, and it will bear fruit, if not in this life, then the next. So I think that simple but brief overview, and like you said when we began, this is a monumental task beyond conception, and it's not anything that we'll even come close to approaching in an hour. But this book has been around for how many years?
Since 1955, I think, was first published. And I think because of the war, they kind of even waited until the publishing time. But yeah, that was the first time when it came published.
Yeah, it's one of those books that for some reason, well, it's probably because of the how vast it is. That so many people are unknown, and you really have to have strong commitment to even begin the work. I know you and I started talking about this 2-3 years ago.
Yep.
And I had picked it up so many times. I had bought the big blue book.
Mm-hmm.
That's the book that's like 2,200 pages, and I just kept having trouble with it. I literally tried to narrate it 4, 5, 6 times, and there is such a weird cadence to the way it's written. So, and some of the sentences are almost a paragraph long, and so it's very difficult. I mean, some books, when I narrate, they will just lead me forward, and there's some books that I struggle with. And like we talked off air, that when you're ready, it'll open up to you. And you've been ragging me for a couple of years now to narrate it. And hey, hallelujah! I started about a month ago.
Praise the Lord.
And we got about 25 papers done, and I figure it's going to take between 6 and 7 months. But now I can read it. I mean, it's still a different work than everything else, but it's a lot easier for me to read. So obviously the time is right, and there's a lot more things involved, like the energy of creation and stuff like that. But yeah, it's ready, and we're posting everything on YouTube. So by all means. The only problem is, it's not a problem, but what interested me the most initially was the life of Christ. So I started 2/3 of the way into the book, and there's 2 full volumes on Christ's life. So that's where I started, because that's where I was interested, and that makes it easier for me to narrate. So eventually the whole book will be done, but right now we are right in the middle of the life of Christ, which is just phenomenally interesting. So check out some of the audios on YouTube, and Cole, share some of your insights with us, if you would.
Sure. So I've been doing this book only for the last 12 years, and mainly I just listen to it and pick up a bit of gossip around it. I think I can't say much solid stuff, because all of this I just basically heard, but they're still not even sure how these books actually materialized into this onto Earth. There are 2 different versions generally. One of them that is just rocked up, like materialized out of nowhere, thin air, and the other one is that it was taken down by a sleeping medium. So apparently there was this guy who in the nighttime went completely out and began to talk. And they invited this doctor, and then he began to take down this whatever he had to say. And 20 years later, that was a book. So pick any of those 2 stories and, decide which one seems more valuable.
Yeah, I'm going with the materialization, because there is so many words in this treatise that are they're not in the English language. So if you channel to somebody and they try and write it down, that would be nothing but a clusterfuck to try and figure out how to write some of those words out. So I don't know. My money is on materialization, but you could go either way.
Yeah, I don't go. I actually go neither way. I don't actually care where it came from. For me, it blew my mind into smithereens, basically. I did the same thing. I started with the Jesus part of so the book is divided into 4 books, or 4 main sections, and they're given not as chapters, but they're given as papers. So they're given us 196 papers, and they come across 2,097 pages. And so it's massive. I remember when I started getting in touch with the Urantia Book, I remember the beginning was just like, I had no idea what they were talking about. I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. But then I looked at the back and it says story of Jesus, and because I've been doing Course of Miracles for a long time and I'm very familiar with that approach, I thought, oh, maybe I just listen to Jesus' story. And that was actually easy to take in. So from papers 120 till 197, it's all about a detailed account of Jesus' life. So profound, so detailed. Everything he ever uttered is in there. I think it's like, 700 pages or so. It's like, it's massive. It's just on the Jesus. I'm so grateful you're narrating it. I listen to it every time new one comes out. It's brilliant. There are a few narrations out there. Some of them are a bit dry. Some of them are a bit like hard to understand. They've been recorded a long time ago. So I'm very, very grateful to you, Barry, that you finally doing it. And yeah, so after reading the Jesus story, then I went actually backwards. I went and read the third part, which was the history of Urantia. Urantia meaning, of course, it means earth, and it's all about, they go straight to the beginning, origins of earth, even what chemicals were put together, how it all just created itself, from how it materialized, specifically described, like it's incredible. And it's all evolution. It's so profound. And who the first people were, and it wasn't Adam and Eve, and they explain the whole Garden of Eden. They explain like nothing else has such profound, detailed explanation of the actual evolution. We think we're the center of the universe. It's like us, and somewhere out there is some kind of, something. But we're just a tiny little bit of our little planet somewhere at the periphery. We're in the periphery of the whole cosmos. It's like this tiny little thing, and it blew up any view about anything. Just went seriously into smithereens and began to introduce these vast concepts and truth. So then I went back to the part 2, which is descriptions of a local universe. And funny enough, that this area that we actually live in, called Satania, and I thought, yeah, that would about
that's about right, yeah.
That would just about sum up why the earth is so, why we're so messed up, and why we have so much stuff going on, and constant trouble, and constant war, and just the famine, and hunger, and imbalance, and abuse, and like, name it. It's pretty wild out there. So Satania, and it describes the whole Luciferian, what was it? Luciferian, forgot. Something to do with the whole Lucifer rebellion, that's it. And they go very much into detail of it. It's like, man, so over my head. I had to listen to that so many times before it begin to sink in. And then the first part is the central and the super universes. The central and the super universes. So central universe and super universes, which is 7 of them. And I'm going to drop in 2 links, if that's cool. And I found them really, really good. One of them just kind of shows you the size of the cosmos according to Urantia, which is absolutely exquisite. It's so beautifully done.
Are you talking about the videos on YouTube?
Yeah, there's 2 videos on YouTube that are absolutely brilliant. Absolutely. Yeah,
I was going to ask you to share those, because that guy spent a lot of time, and that's beautifully done. And it just slaps you in the face about how insignificant Earth and is in relation. I mean, that's exactly what this book does. I mean, if nothing else, somebody on one of the earlier videos that I posted, somebody said, we've got some rather intellectual viewers that listen, and one guy just said, bullshit.
Yeah, right.
And I said, hey, if it's fiction, it's a monumental work of fiction, and it totally blows open your perspective of the universe and creation, because that aspect of it is true. I mean, the size of the universe, cosmos, that's true. That's not fiction. But if it's, and here again, if it's real, here again, it blows your perspective of, our place in the universe. And Jesus says right in the letters that, the individuals on Urantia are the least intelligent creatures in creation, which kind of gives us a little bitch slap. But I mean, that puts us in its place. But regardless of truth or non-truth, it totally blows your perspective as far as creation and the creator and the potential and the distances. So yeah, those videos, I highly recommend you check them out because they're beautiful.
Yes, I love it how in the foreword how it says about that because of this conceptual poverty. It's like they basically say we are crude and really backwards, and we think we have something going on, but we actually are pretty much like an embryos. It's like we just not even in any kind of like a full manifestation. We just like seriously just like larves, trying to like start to like each other at least before we eat each other.
Yeah, I mean this correlates so well with some of the stuff from the series of books called The Law of One, where the main character Ra says that unfortunately, at this point in time, the large percentage of your people on Earth are closer to second density than third density, which means that most of the people are closer to being animals and sentient humans, and that's pretty much what Jesus said, but he said a little bit nicer.
He just did. He was a nice guy. Actually met him not long ago. He's still around, and gave me a hand with a few things. But it's definitely not about the mind. It's all about the heart. It's not about the concepts. It's about the inner experience of it all. And one thing I want to say about Urantia, because I want to actually translate this more into my own kind of what happened to me with it. I'm not here to promote the book, or we're just sitting here chatting. But one thing that began to happen, so I would turn it on in my car while I was driving, and it would just talk about these things that I would need a dictionary to even understand those words, right? So many times I wouldn't even know what it actually meant. But there's one thing that I consistently ended up noticing, that no matter what he was saying, I kept smiling ear to ear. I just had this massive grin on my face every time I listened to it, and I'm going, there's something to this. And because I've done, particularly in my life, my main focus was really explore this vastness of our capacity to feel. And what began to happen with this book, that as if somewhere below me opened up this huge screen, and as I was listening to the words of what the book is saying, it would be like suddenly there was like a movie happening in me as what it's like. When they talk about supreme beings and they talk about this, we think we have like, here earth, and then we have maybe this savior called Jesus or Buddha, and then comes God. And that's like the whole story. But this is just so not so, and it's like the person that we call Jesus is actually was a reincarnation of this entity called Michael, who actually created this whole universe that we're living in. And even that concept is just like so mind-blowing that what? And then these Michaels, there are just like many of these Michaels on the different universes. Every universe has his own Michael. And those are just like not secondary, or they're like way down the scale above those guys and some other guys. And I mean, the detail it goes into about what's above that and what's above that, and then finally you make it to this place called the Isle of Paradise, which is where actually the original center and origins of everything kind of begins. And it's such a vast thing that basically what the book did, it dislodged my perspectives about life and about God and about sort of spiritual transformation, and just basically dislodged it into this profound revelation. And what it does, it's constantly revealing and revealing as I can handle it. It does really reveal this incredible truths about what everything is and what the whole journey is. And it's in our scope of understanding, it's like a 1 or 2 million years of traveling to this Isle of Paradise. It's like, whoa. And then you change from this into the next thing, and then in the next thing, and in the next thing, and in the next thing. And it's just so mapped out and so clearly presented and so beautifully and so consistent. You actually, I don't think you'll be able to find anything contradicting itself. It's so consistent and so beautifully taken down that I seriously bow down to this piece of work. And every time I listen to it, I feel extremely blessed that something like this has even come to my life. And it keeps blessing me, on my way, day in, day out. Anyway.
And the consistency aspect, a lot of people are going to think, well, that's a small thing, but it's not. When you've got a piece of work that is 2,200 pages long or 2,100 pages long, and you're able to keep a consistent tone through 2,000 pages, I mean, that is beyond monumental.
Yeah.
I mean, you would be able to pick up screw-ups or contradictions or stuff like that. And like you said, I mean, and not only that, after you read something like this and then you go back to texts like A Course in Miracles or A Course of Love or The Way of Mastery, it just blows that understanding open too, because
yes, it does.
I mean, like the Bible, like you just said, Jesus came down, and then Buddha and people like that. But then if you take it from the Urantia perspective, where he's Christ Michael of Nebadon, and this was his 7th bestowal, meaning that he went to 6 other places in his creation over the period of over 1 billion years, they mentioned.
Yeah.
And this was his last time out. And then he went back to the Creator Father. And I mean, that alone, this is his 7th time around, and he's been around for billions of years. And then you go back to the story in the Bible, and it is just so pale in comparison to what the Urantia book offers.
Bingo. Definitely. Yes. Would you be able to find paper 44.1? What I like to talk about, because of course, we all know I'm a musician and a music teacher, and I play classical guitar. And there is a brilliant article in the paper 44. It's called Celestial Musicians. And why I picked it up is because it kind of depicts in some way saying that what we think is amazing music is just crude melodies in comparison to the sort of what's available out there in the celestial realms. Like, anyway, would you read some of that? I find it just so beautiful.
From paper 44?
44-1, the celestial musicians.
The celestial artisans?
Musicians, that should be next.
Oh, okay. The first section.
Yeah.
Yeah. The celestial musicians. With a limited range of mortal hearing, you can hardly conceive of Urantia melodies.
Bingo.
This is even a material range of beautiful sound unrecognized by the human sense of hearing, not to mention the inconceivable scope of Urantia and spirit harmony. Spirit melodies are not material sound waves, but spirit pulsations received by the spirits of celestial personalities. This is a lot like, I'm digressing for a bit, but this has probably got something to do with, you've probably heard of the music of the spheres. When people are in deep meditation, they hear music that is beyond this world.
That's it.
So that's probably...
I have the similar things, for example, with colors. Sometimes when I'm in my deep contemplations, I see colors like that don't exist here. And it could be even like blue, but it's such a blue that I've never seen anything like it. So it's the same thing with hearing, same thing with visions and pictures. It's just simply imagery that is way more vibrant than what we are seeing now. I guess some people who might have some drug experiences would be a bit more familiar with these things. But when you start getting these things without drugs,
I think a lot.
When you get it without drugs and without anything, just you sit down, close your eyes, and release the mind from its rigid patterns and structures. You just remember who you are, and in that realm, everything is just completely different. And so I picked this one about music because it just shows you how much more there is even in a way what we call our five senses, like music. You just hear it, but you also feel it.
Yeah, let me read this. There's 7 breakdowns, and then there's a little section that's really funny. The celestial musicians are occupied with the production of celestial harmony by the manipulation of the following spirit forces. 1. Spiritual sound, spirit, current interruptions. 2. Spiritual light, the control and intensification of the light of the Urantia and spiritual realms. 3. Energy impingements, melody produced by the skillful management of the Urantia and spirit energies. 4. Color symphonies, melody of Urantia color tones.
Right.
This ranks among the highest accomplishment of the celestial musicians. 5. Harmony of associated spirits, the very arrangement and association of different orders of Urantia and spirit beings produce majestic melodies. 6. Melody of thought, the thinking of spiritual thoughts can be so perfected as to burst forth in the melodies of Hafona. 7. The music of space. By proper attunement, the melodies of other spheres can be picked up on the universe broadcast circuits. Now here's the funny part. Not funny, but it's kind of sad.
Go.
There are over 100,000 different modes of sound, color, and energy manipulation, techniques analogous to the human employment of musical instruments. Here's the good part. Your ensembles of dancing undoubtedly represent a crude and grotesque attempt of material creatures to approach the celestial harmony of being placement and personality arrangement. The other 5 forms of Urantia melody are unrecognized by the sensory mechanism of material bodies. So they don't hold back from bitch slapping us when we need it.
Well, keep reading because this gets really good.
Okay. Harmony, the music of the 7 levels of melodious association, is the one universal code of spirit communication. Music, such as Urantia mortals understand, attains its highest expression in the schools of Jerusalem, the system headquarters, where semi-material beings are taught the harmonies of sound. mortals do not react to the other forms of Urantia melody and celestial harmony. Appreciation of music on... Go ahead.
I just can't help it. Like, you're reading this, and I'm sitting here, and I've got this massive grin on my face. It's like, it's so vast. Like, it just takes anything, even just a music, or it just takes it into a range of possibilities that it's just so really beyond our even imagination. Like, one can't possibly imagine, because every imagination I have about things, when this begin to happen, they all went to sleep, just the tones, the vibrations, the colors, the textures, and then the feelings. My God, the range of feelings that we have. Like, it's same as with this music. Like, what we're feeling these days is just freaking crude. It's just crude, kind of like having a stitch or something, The feelings have a capacity to generate such qualities of joy that there's no way one can describe it. Even just a feeling good can feel so good that it has no limit. It's just got no limit. And instead, people arguing and criticizing and having, wars, and instead they could be just sitting in the state of absolute awe of what is available all around them, instead of, thinking those limited thoughts in the head and, turning them around, and it's unbelievable. So anyway, that's my little bitching about it. I just go like, wow, who wants to talk about anything? I just want to go back to it and like, whoa, be taken. It's really like being taken, talk about a surrender where you take into realms that never can't be even like, you never even read about it, let's say. It's just incredible. And there is another part I want to get to, and that is, I'm trying to look where that is. Could you read the last paragraph of that thing saying, while you have assembled?
Oh, yeah. While you have assembled some beautiful melodies on Urantia, you have not progressed musically nearly so far as many of your neighboring planets in Satania. If Adam and Eve had only survived, then would you have had music in reality. But the gift of harmony, so large in their nature, has been so diluted by strains of unmusical tendencies that only once in 1,000 mortal lives is there any great appreciation of harmonics. But be not discouraged. Someday a real musician may appear on Urantia, and whole peoples will be enthralled by the magnificent strains of his melodies.
Okay, can you just pause right there? Now, if I can suggest or direct people, and there will be few people who are not familiar with this guy called Dimash. There's this guy from Kazakhstan, a Russian, and he is a singer, and when he sings, like within minutes or within seconds, people go into prayer position. They seriously, this guy, he just makes one sound, and wow, unbelievable. And you know how it says in here, one day, a musician might appear on Urantia, and I reckon that's definitely, if not him, then definitely something that would lead towards that kind of manifestation on earth. Because when he sings, it's like there is a, music coaches and voice coaches, they watch him and they trying to comment on his singing, and they all like stunned. You see their faces, they just completely stunned, because what his frequency of his voice and his range is absolutely incredible. Like he can go from the lowest vibration to the highest pitch that almost feels like a whistle. It's so high that you can hardly hear it, but it's like C7 or something on a scale. So unbelievable. I will put him in the link as well because he's definitely worthwhile to just give you an idea where the music can go, particularly as a voice.
Yeah, it's like when he's singing, it's like he's backed up by a legion of angels that you can't see. I mean, his voice is just, his range is incredible. It's angelic. I mean, that's the only way you can really describe it. It's yeah, put a link down, so we'll have a lot of links in the description box.
Yes. Or I could just this should work fine. Hang on a second.
No, you don't play anything. That'll trip up the copyright.
Oh, you think? Okay.
Yeah, they're
okay. We'll send the link because it's all on a. Is it? Okay.
Yeah, they're bastards.
All right. So you know your stuff. Okay. I won't play anything. Can't you do like 8 seconds?
You could. No, don't risk it. Just give them the link. They can listen to the whole thing.
Okay, we'll do the link.
Let me read. There's another section after about the 7 groups of the heavenly reproducers.
Oh, let's do it.
This is kind of interesting too. Number 1, the singers, the harmonists who reiterate the specific harmonies of the past and interpret the melodies of the present. But all of this is affected on the Urantia level. 2, the color workers, those artists of light and shade you might call sketchers and painters, artists who preserve passing scenes and transient episodes for future Urantia enjoyment. 3, the light picturizers, the makers of the real semi-spirit phenomena preservations of which motion pictures would be a very crude illustration. 4, the historic pageanters, those who dramatically reproduce the crucial events of universe records and history. 5, the prophetic artists, those who project the meaning of history into the future. 6, the life storytellers, those who perpetuate the meaning and significance of life experience, the projection of present personal experiences into future attainment values. And 7, the administrative enactors, those who depict the significance of governmental philosophy and administrative technique, the celestial dramatist of sovereignty. So I mean they've got this nailed down to the nth degree. I mean it's I don't know how you'd write something like unbelievable.
Minute detail, unbelievable, and it does take a while until it begins to penetrate the thick levels of our vibration. You know, like we vibrate on such a slow speed here generally. You know, some of the bodies on the planet they haven't even received light yet. They're just basically functioning on food and stories. And there's a way to increase this vibrational thing where you can start understanding these things experientially rather than just reading about them. But I think reading about them, it does ignite stimulus in which you can begin to become receptive to the minute detail of all these different aspects of vibration and light. It's pretty exciting. And then it goes into like paper 48, which is called Urantia Life. You know how you just mentioned it, Urantia Life?
Yeah.
So if you go to paper 48, and basically Urantia is our next stop. After we close our eyes for the last time, we're going to go into this, what they call the Urantia world. And in those worlds, everything is very different than here. Like, for example, there's the vibration is much lighter. We don't get so sick. We don't get sick. It's a very, very little sickness. And the way of living is way, way lighter. And people say, somewhere it says in the Urantia that when when we have like a God connection experience, they say when you think you see God as you are right now, you're actually only just tapping into the Urantia world. And that's as far as we can go, so we can handle that God vibration. Otherwise, we would definitely just basically disintegrate if we were in a presence of that level of vibration. So you want to read a little bit of that one?
Yeah, I was just looking at the first paragraph here again. We got another good bitch slap coming. The gods cannot, at least they do not, transform a creature of gross animal nature into a perfected spirit by some mysterious act of creative magic. Yeah. When the creators desire to produce perfect beings, they do so by direct and original creation. But they never undertake to convert animal origin and material creatures into beings of perfection in a single step.
Right. Anyway, I'm speechless.
Yeah, it's funny how, people that are just so full of themselves, and they read something like this, their head's probably going to blow up. What do you mean? What do you mean I'm not the center of the universe? Since when?
Yeah, since ever. Yes.
And then they've got it broken down into Urantia power supervisors. They've got 400 circuit regulators, 200 system coordinators, planetary custodians 100, combined controllers 100, liaison stabilizers 100, selective assorters 50, associate registers 50.
Just blows your mind. Really, that's what it does. Like actually they're saying that it's a fifth epochal revelation. It's just been, this is, I think I could be totally off here, but I think the Bible was like the fourth, because it's one of those books that's, it's been around for a while. But I reckon this is what we can handle now. If the Christians could just put the Bible aside just for a moment and let them be introduced that there is more to it all than just some kind of angry maker who created you sinful and is watching your bad deeds, so one day he can slap you, and just look at that. There is just so much more to this whole thing. It's just absolutely incredible.
Do you remember you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I did a Urantia snippet on it about the evolution and concept of the development or evolution of God. Do you remember what paper that is? I wanted to read that.
Well, can we go and find the snippets? It should be quite easy. If we go to your thing, if you go to snippets, you got it? I'm also looking. Here we go, Urantia Book.
Yeah, I don't have the paper on it though.
He's got wisdom snippets. Oh, you put all sorts of different snippets in there.
Yeah, I've got about from 10 or 15.
Okay.
Let's see.
I can't help you there.
Yeah, no worries. We'll catch it next time. But yeah, it what you just brought up about the Old Testament God is not the God of creation. The Old Testament God is a creation of the Jews, and it is a tribal God. But then he goes and explains, the evolution of that to Yahweh, to Elohim, stuff like that. And it's really interesting because so many people, so many people are still Old Testament scholars, and they're still praying to an Old Testament God, a God that let you sell your daughter into slavery. And I mean, Leviticus and all these chapters are just full of this crap.
Mm-hmm.
And if you associate with a 2,000-year-old energy and a tribal god created by somebody else, you're never even going to get a taste of what you are in reality, a co-creator with God. So go check that out in the wisdom snippets about it's called The Concept and Evolution of God, and it's only like 6-7 minutes, but it's incredibly interesting.
Had an interesting look at, there was this guy, he works on some missions in Africa, quite an interesting character, and he is into Bible, and but he also went into breatharianism, so he stopped eating. And what he was talking about, which was very interesting, he says, when I stopped eating, after about 10 days, I began to read Bible, and reading it from that place where you don't have to, digest and assimilate and eliminate and cook and shop and buy stuff, and you just go into these more subtle realms of association. And he was talking about how the Bible suddenly was completely rewritten in front of him. But then 20 days later, into not eating, it got a whole new dimension. And his whole thing was like, Jesus says a few times in the Bible, like, refrain from eating so much and you will have a greater understandings. And I think he was a manifestation of that. And I was quite taken by what he had to say. He says, like, when you go into those different realms where you're no longer so dense, no longer filling yourself with dense food, and you become to get energy from different sources than food, you begin to comprehend things differently. And I think that's also, you could read Urantia Book until cars come home. I've been on some Urantia pages on Facebook, and when I listen to those discussions, I go like, oh my God, what book are these guys reading? So it's just where you are at and how you're going to able to process what is being offered. And are you taking it mentally? Are you taking it, through your heart? Are you already capable of feelings that are just past all the, what we call negative feelings, or just a upper level of feeling? Or are you already capable of, did you have an awakening in your feeling body, basically? And is your body vibrating in the speed of light, in which all these books are completely rewritten? So it does take one to be kind of in a more lucid way of association to be able to grasp these profound concepts on the level that they are being offered.
Yeah, I found this section, and I want to read it. I think it's important. It'll be a couple of minutes, so you can get yourself a cup of coffee or a sandwich or something. This is from paper 142. This is from the Passover at Jerusalem. This is the section on the concept of God. Jesus mildly upbraided the 12 in substance, saying, "Do you not know the traditions of Israel relating to the growth of the ideas of Yahweh? And are you ignorant of the teaching of the Scriptures concerning the doctrine of God?" So I'll just skip down to the part of the descriptions. 1. Yahweh, the God of the Sinai clans. This was the primitive concept of deity which Moses exalted to the higher level of the Lord God of Israel. The Father in heaven never fails to accept the sincere worship of his children on earth, no matter how crude their concept of deity or by what name they symbolize his divine nature. 2. The Most High. This concept of the Father in heaven was proclaimed by Melchizedek to Abraham, and was carried far from Salem by those who subsequently believed in this enlarged and expanded idea of deity. Abraham and his brother left Ur because of the establishment of sun worship, and they became believers in Melchizedek's teaching of El Elyon, the Most High God. Theirs was a composite concept of God, consisting in a blending of their older Mesopotamian ideas and the Most High doctrine. 3. El Shaddai. During these early days, many of the Hebrews worshipped El Shaddai, the Egyptian concept of the God of heaven, which they learned about during their captivity in the land of the Nile. Long after the times of Melchizedek, all three of these concepts of God became joined together to form the doctrine of the Creator deity, the Lord God of Israel. 4. Elohim. From the times of Adam, the teaching of the Paradise Trinity has persisted. Do you not recall how the Scriptures began by asserting that? In the beginning the gods created the heavens and the earth. This indicates that when that record was made, the Trinity concept of three gods in one had found lodgment in the religion of our forebears. 5. The Supreme Yahweh. By the times of Isaiah, these beliefs about God had expanded into the concept of a universal creator, who was also simultaneously all-powerful and all-merciful. And this evolving and enlarging concept of God virtually supplanted all previous ideas of deity in our Father's religion. 6. The Father in heaven. And now do we know God as our Father in heaven. Our teaching provides a religion wherein the believer is a son of God. That is the good news of the gospel of the kingdom of heaven. Coexistent with the Father are the Son and the Spirit, and the revelation of the nature and ministry of these paradise deities will continue to enlarge and brighten throughout the endless ages of the eternal spiritual progression of the ascending sons of God. At all times and during all ages, the true worship of any human being, as concerns individual spiritual progress, is recognized by the indwelling Spirit as homage rendered to the Father in heaven. So, yeah, that's the three. And what I think is one of the most important thing is the Father in heaven never fails to accept the sincere worship of his children on earth, no matter how crude their concept of deity or by what name they symbolize his divine nature. The reason I bring that up is I don't know how many times all these audios that I post, someone's saying Yeshua, someone's saying Yahweh, someone's saying Jeshua ben Joseph, and people come up there and stick their head up and they correct me and they say, hey, it's Yahweh, hey, it's Jehovah, hey, it's YWH. God doesn't care what you call him. God cares, that you're open to him, and he doesn't really give a shit. So I found I found that interesting, and so many. The unfortunate thing is so many people are still worshiping and following, the first one, the Yahweh of the Sinai clans, and it's unfortunate. But say
like the Curse of Love says, it's like, love, heart or love doesn't care where the love comes from as far as it comes, and that's like at the end of a day. We can read all these papers and we can read all these things. A friend of mine the other day said, at the end of a day, it's like, but how much can you actually love right now? With all the knowledge and all this everything, how much love can you generate and feel in your whole being and flood yourself with it? Ignite yourself with it. At the end, it's like Course in Miracles says, perception is not an attribute of God. And so we can perceptually get help. But at the end, it has to be the experience. Just like it said just then, God doesn't care what you call him as far as you connect to that sameness. And then remember, and then you remember who you are. That sometimes gets forgotten. And again, I always have to catch myself because, it's like there is no other people. It's just really me. And only I can be accomplished. And what the world's going to be always a bit crazy. But we can awaken. And I think that's the bottom line of the message is like, remember who you are. Release all these mad ideas about whether it's, Yahweh or Joshua ben Joseph or Jesus or whatever you want to call him. It's like there is this heart presence that's calling to you right now. And yeah, feel it and then give it and keep giving it and until the gift is given and to the max. And it's one more thing that occurred to me, and I actually got this from one really good article that one lady put on her Facebook, and it says, Course in Miracles and Course of Love and Righteous of Will and all these different books, they are all about how to. And Urantia Book is what it is about. And it is an exquisite description of everything that is out there in the cosmos and its order and its perfect alignment and its particular evolution and expansion. So yeah, I really like that understanding. It's like it will tell you what it's about. It does not necessarily tell you, like A Course in Miracles, that it trains your mind specifically to dislodge itself from concepts and remember God. It's more like shows you, and of course, I think by the only teaching that can really help us is through that story of Jesus and what Jesus actually is saying, because actually what he says in Urantia Book, the whole thing, I find the same thing in Course of Miracles or in Course of Love. So that Jesus is just so identical, and whatever we call that energy, it's still just a great manifestation of heart and love, and that is the bottom line of the whole spirituality. Can we sit together right now, you and I, and bathe in this exquisiteness of what was given to us at the beginning of creation, and can we offer it on to our brothers and sisters and be at peace together and have a beer or something?
Something a lot of people forget about, or it's not even present in the Bible, but Jesus or Jeshua or Yahweh, whoever you want to call him, that dude had a sense of humor.
It did.
And he really, in a lot of the way of mastery material, that it just comes through so incredibly vibrant. And, everybody's sitting down there and, prostrating themselves, and then, he cracks a joke. I mean, he is the creator, son of creation. It's been around a couple of billion years. So, yeah, it gives you a little bit of time to create a sense of humor. So, if you don't have a sense of humor, time to go back and reread some of this stuff.
I know. I just, the other day, I just read this thing in A Course of Love. It says, you thus cling to the one sure thing that permeates your existence, the knowledge that death will claim you and all those you love. Realize that when you are asked to give this up, you are asking to give up an existence so morbid that anyone with any sanity would gladly toss it to the wind and ask for an alternative. An alternative exists. I mean, he's a funny dude. You have to give it to him for sure.
I mean, you brought this up a long time ago, but everybody is so solemn in their petitions and prayers and stuff like that. And you mentioned this a long time ago. Sometimes you'll just sit there and say, God, what the fuck you want me to do?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
I think the word fuck should be really used in prayers more, because the Bible, I tell you, all my revelations were definitely at the point of my lowest devastation, where I was so committed to transformation, and at the end it never really worked really well, and I find myself on my knees, and it would be in this moment of utter frustration when I would go, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, whoever the fuck can hear me, what's going on? And then this voice goes, Are you ready? And then, boom, man, and my mind was like completely transformed, like in a blink of an eye. The minute I said, yep. Actually,
Yeah, I mean,
that voice, I got to say it. He said, are you ready? At the same time, completely assured me that I was. So he actually gave me a hand with an answer. And as, and as soon, like he's a funny guy. And as soon as, and what was incredible about that, first of all, that Jesus kind of energies kind of step back and still here, creation. But what else happened in that was that my purpose was written out in the most minute detail as what is coming on next. That was just most beautiful, like this vision of what my next. And I was in this big organization at that time, and I was like the next day, so I like, goodbye everybody, I'm done. I'm done with this, and just moved on, and everything lined up, one thing after another, boom, 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 boom. My accommodation, my money, everything just came. It was incredible, like a total gift. But every single time I had this huge shift in perception and reality was through this devastating prayer that always involved the word fuck. So I think it's a very important word in our language.
Yeah, I don't know what the Pope would say about that, but I mean, it's interesting. There's a verse in Revelation that said, because you are neither hot nor cold, I spit you out, which, God's not going to come to you if you're complacent and you're driving down and say, hey, God, what do you want me to do? Oh, look, I'm going to go get myself a burger. There's no commitment. He doesn't give a shit. But I mean, when you're at your lowest level or your highest level, that's when the connection's going to be made. So
yeah, and it's that thing. Is like he says it when the Bible says, "Ask and you shall receive." He didn't say "bitch" and you shall receive, and and it also says, "Pray and ask with all your heart and all your might and all your strength," and that is so true. And how would you do that? How would you do that right now? It's that kind of like God, it's that heart song, it's the vibration of your heart that just with all its strength asking for the ultimate. It's like, give me the answer to my purpose in life so I can fulfill my journey here and, be complete. Like, for example, when I run men's groups, for example, I don't know what happens in these places, but one thing I know, that I come home, I sit down, and I go, I could die right now, and I would feel complete. That's how profound that is. And how did it come about? Came from all this. It's like, God, what am I supposed to be doing? Really? Like, don't give me one of these freaking vague answers or symbols. Just talk to me. Bang. Be direct. And ask and you shall receive. And then clarity of vision and clarity of life and clarity of what's important. It's just right in front of us. It's all given. But it doesn't come from, sometimes I listen to Marianne Williamson. She goes, "Dear God, be so kind and, do this for us and that for us." It's like, Marianne, it's not working. All your prayers are not getting answered, It's like, you gotta get that passion up. You gotta get your balls into it, You gotta get your womb, you want to manifest a reality. You want to birth yourself. You want to, second coming of Christ. It's like, it's a becoming something of a birth of a brand new being that's been blessed by light.
A lot of people forget. A lot of people forget too. A second part of that is, in your prayer, they say, "Well, I didn't get my new car. I didn't get this," and your petitions to God have to be for the highest and best good for not only you but for humanity. So if If you're just asking for a bunch of selfish crap, you're never going to get it, because
Yeah.
spirit knows better than you do in regards to what you need. So
Exactly.
um,
And
you know, so many of these.
it's so simple, Barry. Really, it's just so simple. Because let me ask you a good question. Why are you doing anything that you do? Because it makes you feel good. And sometimes we do things that don't make us feel good, so we feel bad, only to sort of feel so bad that we just say, oh, I dropped this, I just want to feel good. And truth is, we actually do everything we do just so we feel good. You know, we go to work so we can buy ourselves something, so we what? Feel good. No matter what you do, you're always doing it for some kind of feeling good. And I'm saying, forget the doing and just feel good. You know, like right now. You know, can you feel good without doing anything? Just feel good.
Yeah, it's basically just a choice.
Yes, and
You have to choose that you want to feel good, and so many people are addicted to the.
What we haven't learned is that we feel good momentary, and then we quickly look for something else, because you know what? Feeling good is intense. Like, feel good, and can you allow yourself to feel better than that good, you know? Can you allow yourself to feel good a bit more? And I guarantee you, if you keep really feeling good, and allow yourself to feel good a bit more, and a bit more, and then let that go and let yourself feel, you know, a bit more, feeling good, you will start feeling so good that it's almost unbearable. And that is the unbearable lightness of being. And I think if there is any practice, trying to do meditation for an hour where you're just meditating on feeling good. Because we go such a long way to feel good that it's tragic. You know, 4 jobs or whatever, you know, you could just sit here and just feel good. And then give that goodness out. And I think it's that simple. Because, you know, you could be manifesting this and manifesting that, but at the end of the day, it just makes you feel good. And so why manifest this and that if you can just feel good right now? And you skip all that hustle and tussle and all this busyness and all this crazy surge where you can just feel good right now. And learn how to stay there. How to actually stay in that place of feeling good. Just feeling good. Or feeling love. And feeling more love. And then when you meet your neighbor, what do you share? You share that. You say, hello, how you doing? And they go, oh, you look relaxed. Yeah, it's a nice day. You know? And it's so simple. I mean, like the Urantia book is just exquisite. And at the same time, at the end of the day, you know, it's like, hey, you could read the book, you could just sit here and feel good. So, seriously, I teach kids at school, you know, it's like, hey, you know, I teach because I teach music, and I go, at the end of the day, it's about feeling something in music. So we just do this exercise, we feel good. And with kids, it's incredible. I say, can you allow yourself to feel good a bit more? And they go, yeah. And you should see this light in their eyes. And like, how about a bit more than that? And they go, yeah. You know? And you ask them 4 times, and you virtually have to stop it because you watch them going into an ecstasy. And I don't know why that is not taught in schools, you know? Like, just basic, feel good, feel joy, feel kind. Like, try feel kind for 2 hours. Man, you will be flooded by so much love. And there is no spiritual concepts behind it at all. You know? It's just, it's all in you already. And you begin to give it by feeling it more, and giving it. End of story.
Yeah, I mean, ascension is basically joining those sequential moments of joy together.
Yeah.
So there's no falling back into, lower density. I mean, once you constantly are in a state of joy, that is your pathway to ascension. It is that simple. And people spend thousands of dollars and going to seminars for weeks on end. I can't tell you how many times I get emails from people that said, I've finished a seminar and apparently I'm fully woke now. And I says, well, bless you, brother, and
see you in 3 days.
Yeah. So hey, guess what, Cole?
Oh, tell me.
We had been talking about this episode for like 3-4 days, and I mean, this is such a monumental work, and we were so afraid we didn't have anything to talk about, but we're already 1 hour and 10 minutes into it.
Oh,
so
my God.
I think we did a good job on a
that's
work
good
that is
warning.
incomprehensible.
If anybody could even listen to what we were on about.
I'm sure our moms will.
Yeah, my mom in heaven.
You got anything you want to close up with before we wrap things up?
Yeah, imagine my mom going like, covering her eyes and like, oh my God, are you listening to my son? Jesus, just talking out of his ass again.
Yeah, moms, you gotta love them.
Oh my God, my mom. She was a love incarnate, man. Whew, she was so simple, man. She was like a beaming little ball of light. I remember once I was in town having a coffee with a friend. She says, look at this lady over there. I always watch her. She is just the happiest woman in the Byron Bay. I said, yeah, that's my mom.
Yeah, my mom was, she was a little sprite. She was like 5'1".
Just same with mine.
I mean, yeah,
Same
and
with
I'm
mine.
6'4", so.
Yeah, I'm 6'1", And
So it was funny, yeah.
She was the tiniest thing, my mom. But Jesus, her
Yeah,
heart
mine
was
too.
massive. Oh, nice.
One of the best stories I remember. I'd always drive up when I was living in Chicago. I'd always drive up to my parents were living in Minneapolis. I always drive up there for Christmas. So we always had a dog, and my mom could carry the weight for the dog, but my father really loved him. And anyway, I was sleeping a couple of days after Christmas, and for one of my presents, I'd got like a radio-controlled Formula One car, really cool, just went like a bat out of hell. So I wake up and all I hear is like a little nymph laughing, which is my mother, and I hear the dog barking, and I get up and I go out in the kitchen. My mom's standing on the kitchen chair with the radio control, chasing the dog with the radio control car. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. It was,
man, that's so precious.
That was beautiful.
Oh my God.
So you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
You got anything else? Yeah, I just want to mention too that I've mentioned this a couple times. Cole was nagging me to record this for years now, and like I said, it finally started feeling right, so I did. Not only that, a couple of years ago he started nagging me about, this blue book is like 6 pounds and it's a pain in the ass. The text is so small and it's hard to read. So then, I do a lot of things just off the cuff. So I said, well, let's republish a new edition. And I mean, that was a massive project. And so what I did was I took the book and it's now in 6 volumes. It's like 3,200 pages, because what I did is I enlarged the text. I used a different font, easier to read. I used cream paper, which makes it easier on the eyes. I removed all the paragraph notation, so it's a lot cleaner.
It's delicious.
Yeah, I'm really proud of it. I sent Cole a couple of sets of it, and he's happy with it. And so, we put some bite behind our bark, and so,
yeah.
And like I said, that's on YouTube now, and I should be done in about 6 months. But Yeah, I mean, at least it'll give you a taste, and I think Cole did an excellent job of, give us an insight over, his experience in the last 12 years, and I'm looking forward to continuing the whole thing and getting it done, so I can, go out in the hammock and actually start listening to it from the beginning. And,
the same thing.
So
Ever since we mentioned we were going to do this, I started listening to some of it, and it's like that thing. I'm sitting there grinning ear to ear. I'm going like, how can I ever possibly even begin to talk about this thing? So it's similar to Write You So Well. Like when I open it up, it's unspeakable material, and so is the Urantia Book. And definitely my top 4 books, the Course of Miracles, Course of Love, Write You So Well series, and Urantia Book is just absolutely a must have a glance at, or at least listen to. So very grateful to you, Barry, for recording it. I absolutely love it.
Well, I'm grateful for the consistent kick in the ass.
Yeah, the whip behind the man that goes like, Barry, what's going on?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you saw my table and if you saw my desk, it looks like one of those mad scientists on TV. I mean, there's books piled everywhere. I got books on the floor. I got books on shelves. So if I don't focus on something, it'll never get done. So I appreciate. I say that in jest, but I appreciate your effort, because our tastes are so similar in regard to you're a little bit more, the right side, and I'm a little bit more metaphysical aspect, channeling, stuff like that. But it's a great compliment. So thank you, my friend, for the kick in the ass. And
thank you, Barry.
Thanks
for setting up this podcast. I mean, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be talking to anybody. So it was very nice of you to say, hey, let's do some podcasts. I said, like, okay.
Well, all the chicks I asked told me no, so.
Oh, God, man.
All right, everybody. Thanks for giving us a listen in regard to the Urantia book. Do yourself a favor, give it a listen, and Cole's going to include some links in the description. The singer that we talked about, beautiful stuff, and some other audios as well too. So, Cole, thank you from Byron Bay.
Thank you.
I am in America, and we will talk soon.
Okay. Catch you later.
Good night, everybody.